What's good, everybody? We are back for episode 3.
Episode
3. Gotta hold it out. Sheesh.
Episode 3, we back, man. What
Yes,
we talking
sir.
about today, man?
Yes,
what
sir.
we got?
Hold on, in case you don't know, it's your first time checking in. My name is Cooley, and I'm alongside my boy
B Stew.
B Stew, all the way from Cali. You know your boys from the H, and you are tuning in to the Moving on Purpose podcast, where we peel back the layers of fatherhood, marriage, law enforcement, all while moving on our purpose. Okay, today we getting a little deep. Okay, we getting a little deep. All right, we had a little fun last time with that topic. Okay,
Heartfelt episode. What we got?
today we are going to talk about dads. Okay, we're gonna talk about the dads that are already dads. We're going to talk about soon-to-be dads, men who want to be dads in the future, and the men who are healing from the dad that they did not have growing up.
Ooh, that's deep right there.
All right, so the name of this episode is Becoming the Dad That We Needed. And that, you can just, it's so many layers to that, So let's jump into it, man. I feel like I was raised by a single mother. And my mom did the best that she could in raising a man, right? I think she did a very good job. I consider myself to be very respectful, and know the difference between right and wrong, all that good stuff. But there's just some things that only a man can teach a young man as he's molding them, and they're trying to find their way in the world. Do you agree on that?
Absolutely, I do.
And I can think back, man. There's so many instances when I was growing up as a boy that I just wish I had a man to kind of guide me. From something as simple as learning how to shoot a basketball, something as simple as learning how to throw and catch a football, learning the difference between being hurt and being injured.
Okay.
Because that's something that boys and single moms go through, where everything, stop crying, baby, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Talking to girls, right? That's something that I really had to struggle with and learn.
Well, I could push back on that
through
one,
trial and error. Okay, help me out.
Push back,
Come on.
man. The talking to the women part. Your mom or aunties, they can be good perspective in teaching you how to, approach the women in the correct way.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I'm just gonna push back.
That's
that.
when you get older. I'm talking about young. I'm talking
you talking
about like
those
kindergarten,
conversations
just
and-
being comfortable going and talking to a little girl, a young lady, right?
Yeah.
And knowing what to say, knowing to just be yourself and not trying to be
Absolutely.
anybody that you're not, right?
Yeah.
Knowing to be comfortable in your own skin. That's something that I'm teaching my son, because he's like, and when I go and mentor, groups of boys, they're like, Sarge, how do we talk to girls? Be you. Yeah. It's only one you.
Make them laugh.
Make them laugh.
Yeah.
You make them laugh and pay attention to the things that they do.
Right.
If they get them barrettes in their hair, if they got a new pair of shoes on, they got a new backpack or some new lunch kit.
Be old school. Send them a note, man.
Exactly.
These
kids, they're these tablet kids, man. I don't know how to do it.
Send that note, man. Pass it up, man.
Man, we used to fold that origami note and send it to them.
Yeah.
Nah, but just really building a young man's confidence. I feel like
Absolutely.
a man can do that for a boy. And there was a lot of trial and error and me trying to find my way that I really feel like a man could have helped me navigate a whole lot easier.
Well, let me ask you this. How did you fill the void in those gaps in not having that?
The neighborhood.
Okay,
That could have went either way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the neighborhood taught me how to play basketball. Neighborhood taught me how to play football. Neighborhood taught me how to fight. All my life I had to fight. Okay, I was the brightest kid on the block, and I got tried quite a bit. And so I had to stand on it, and I didn't win every fight, but I didn't lose every fight. Right? Yeah. And a man can teach you how to defend yourself, how to be confident, and not be scared of conflict. Don't go looking for it. Yeah. Know how to talk yourself out of it. But don't back down.
Don't just allow things to happen. Stand
Absolutely.
up for yourself.
Absolutely. And like I said, man, just really how to approach young ladies and be yourself. That was the main thing for me. Now, as you continue to grow, and you get to that point where you get to be a teenager, and my mom was old school, religious. We ain't talking about that because you don't need to be thinking about that.
Not
so don't even ask
married.
me. Not till you're married type thing. And and I appreciate that for her to a certain extent. But I feel like where there's not education given to a young man in that situation, he can go out
mistakes
and
can be made.
Try and get the wrong information from the wrong people. And I can think back to the kids, they was
influences.
I started seeing kids getting pregnant when I was in middle school.
Yeah.
Right? That was I remember that story.
Right.
Mama say don't say lie. That story.
Yeah.
That they used to say you can't get pregnant on the first try.
We all know that's a lie.
Shit.
Yeah.
Plenty of them. Plenty of teen moms growing up because nobody told that young man how to properly put on a prophylactic.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you learn through your experience and your mistakes, but like you said, if you don't have that influence or that male figure to kind of break it down to you, and you're just going out there learning on the fly. Sometimes that's not the best way to learn as you approaching and coming into, adulthood and manhood and stuff like that. So,
is this a safe space?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna peel back the layer now. I'm gonna let you know.
Shit. Hold on.
Until probably about my second year of college, I was putting the condom on wrong. Okay, listen to me, follow me. Okay,
Cooley,
so listen, I'm not gonna go too far. This ain't a kid show, so this is for other men that had to figure this out on their own. I didn't have nobody teach me this. So mama, turn it off. Okay, so imagine you got the banana or the cucumber. You put the condom right on it.
Man, all I see is that Steve Harvey movie when he was showing the Nick Cannon how to do it.
I'm just saying, I didn't pinch the tip. I just put it right on with no room. So whenever that time came, I think I came back in myself. I don't know. I'm just saying I didn't have it on correctly, and that's through trial and error. My dad should have taught me that. I shouldn't have had to figure that out on my own, brother. And YouTube wasn't around, and I don't think I want to watch YouTube to learn that either.
Yeah, YouTube University probably wasn't around that time, man.
Yeah, it was not. It was not.
And man, but you can laugh from the story now.
I can.
Yeah,
absolutely,
so that's the beauty of the show. You being able to laugh at the things that you had to go through while trying to figure out things.
For sure, man. And just things like being comfortable in your own skin, not necessarily talking to girls, man. I had to learn that through trial and error. I went to a high school where all my friends I grew up with in the neighborhood, they went to another high school that I was on to. Mm-hmm. I got kind of sent to the school that my mom and my sister graduated from, and I just got dumped. I didn't know anybody. Right. I knew a couple people, and I just was dumped. And I remember the first day of school, like looking around, like, okay, this is a turning point. What you gonna do? You gonna barbecue or mildew? You gonna sink or swim? What you gonna do? So I just was like, I'm gonna lean on sports to allow me to be myself, to allow me to start to network and have those friends that I start to learn and get to know. But at the same time, man, at the end of the day, either you going to like me for me or you're not. And that's something that I teach my son. Be the same person that you were yesterday, today, tomorrow. I'm very prideful, and I take heed to that in my professional career and as a man. You know what you're going to get. And it's very important for a young man to know, and I wish that somebody would have told me that all you have is your word, right?
Yep.
I'm sure you've heard that, right?
Yeah.
And when you look a man in his eye, when you shake his hand, and you tell him you're going to do something, it's very important that you follow through on that. And you may fall short, but you got to communicate that reason why. Yeah. And when I go and meet with these kids, man, the first day that I introduce myself to them, I ask them, by raising hands, who knows how to shake hands? What's the first impression? Nobody knows what that is. And these kids are like 4th, 5th grade. Yeah. What is a first impression? They have no idea. And so then I have them line up. I make sure, shake hand, squeeze, firm, chest up, chin up. Look me in my eye, and that's the biggest thing. They're so uncomfortable with eye contact. Look me in my eye.
It's probably because you always got the sunglasses on.
Exactly,
man.
Right?
Mr. Cool. How they gonna look you in the eye? You got the shades on, man.
Man. So I say, look a man in his eye and speak with confidence. Who are you?
Yeah.
Hello, my name is so-and-so. Nice to meet you. Yeah. Right? And I explained to them the importance of knowing that if you don't do that, it's telling them two things. One, you're either intimidated or you're not comfortable and confident in your own skin. Yeah. And you only get one chance to make a first impression. If that was your chance to make that impression for you to get a job or an opportunity, you coming out with the wet fish hand, and your hand all sweaty and
no eye contact. You looking down. You don't want to shake anybody's hand. Or
these are all important lessons that only I feel like a man should teach you.
No, absolutely. I mean, a dad can teach you it. You learn it throughout different things, and you fill those gaps and those voids. For me, it was through sports. Okay. Because I had my mom was around to raise me, my aunt was around to raise me, my cousins, my grandma, all that stuff.
You had those coaches as well.
Coaches, so I leaned on sports. Sports was real big for me. It was a vehicle for me to get out my comfort zone and to learn different things as a young man. Like you said, the handshakes, talking with confidence.
Yeah. Being a good sport.
Being on time, discipline. Absolutely. All those different things that you should learn like you said, maybe from a male figure or a dad. I got that through coaches and different things like that. So
how to deal with adversity.
Right. Just having those uncomfortable conversations with those coaches kind of helped me, get along and kind of mature into the person I am today. So
yeah, I agree, man. And I like my mom. I had to really do something sideways for her to cuss at me.
Yeah,
because she, like I said, very religious. I knew if she called me out my name, I had did something. It was some leather coming behind there, right?
Leather or a switch.
Leather or a switch and make you go pick it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But coaching, that yelling, that cussing, especially in football, brother, when I got to the police academy, and I was like, bro, you can't call me nothing. Football coach ain't already called me.
I didn't call everything but my name. So
this is nothing like compared to what I've been called.
Right.
Before it was a lot of words that you couldn't say.
The same thing on the streets. Like when
Absolutely.
we're policing and stuff like that, when you on scenes and they hide and people's emotions are flying, man, you getting called all type of stuff. So, it helps with building tough skin and, going through sports kind of, shape you into what you need to be. Mm-hmm. But it also gives you that tough skin so where you're not sensitive and emotional. Yeah. And then you end up making a bad decision because you can't control your emotions and your attitude. That's
another thing I teach them about is controlling your emotions, not let people play you like a PlayStation and press your buttons, right? Some of those life lessons that I got from those coaches, man, like being on time. I remember I had a college coach, couldn't stand him. But this stuck with me as far as being punctual. He said, if you're 5 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. Mm-hmm. And if you're late, that's unacceptable. And that's always stuck with me. Yeah. And I teach my son and I teach my daughters that just give yourself enough time to get there on time, especially when you start driving to Houston. You got to take that into account as well. So now I've learned to kind of, the glitch in the matrix with my wife when I want to be on time somewhere. Yeah. I just tell her that we got to be there 30 minutes early. And then we pull up and she was like, well, I said, well, I wanted to get here. I didn't know how parking was. Right?
Hey, man.
Yeah.
You're on time, though.
Absolutely. Yeah, so all my guys out there, man, who haven't had sons yet, who are uncles, who haven't found that person that they want to have that kid with, man, like, don't underestimate the impact that you can have on those kids at church, that you can have on your nephew, that you can have on those kids that you may be mentoring at a school or, some type of small group session, because those are core memories, man. They can hear it from their mom all day, but when it comes from a man, when it comes from somebody that looks like them, it sticks. It hits a little different. It hits a little different for sure.
Let's transition, since you're already there, your experience in becoming a father.
Yeah, breaking that cycle, right?
Yeah.
Man, so I have a godfather. He was my football coach, took me under his wing since I was about 13, 14. Okay. Watched out, looked out for me. He was an HPD officer. He's the reason why I became an HPD officer. Okay. And so I was lucky enough to follow him. He talked me into giving it a try. He was my field trainer. I ended up going and working with him on the Southwest side and running calls at the same station, same shift, right? So that's pretty dope. But I remember reaching out to him because I have 2 girls and a boy. My boy is the youngest. When I had my girls, it was very easy to love them. Mm-hmm. You love on them. You can never love on them enough. Never tell them you love them enough. You hug them, kiss them, all that good stuff, right? You're supposed to. It comes easy as a dad.
Yeah.
I can remember being with my son, and I remember holding him and looking at him like, what is the appropriate amount of love that I can show him that's not outside of what's okay for a little boy? Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense.
I literally was like looking at him like, I want to kiss him. I want to love on him like the girls, but I don't want him to grow up soft.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And that was that moment, like we said, there's no manual on how to be a dad.
Nah. I mean, I believe like it's like the last episode. It's about balance and being able to give the perfect amount of all what you're talking about so that the kid is well-rounded and balanced.
Absolutely. Right? And I reached out to my godfather and I told him that. He was like, man, you're thinking too much. He said, just do what comes natural to you. Do what comes natural to you. Make sure you tough on them. Like you said, have that balance. So, man, I kiss my son. I tell my son I love him every day. I hug my son.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But I tap him in the chest a couple times just to make sure.
Tough
you know
love.
What I'm saying? Get your hands up, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
type
thing. Stay ready.
Make it get up, walk it off type deal, right? Yeah. And then I have those stern conversations with him. So where he can't, there's a lot of men that have grown up that their dads have never told them that they love them. Right? They can't. They could think on one hand how many times that their dad has told them that they love them. I'm one of those.
Yeah,
my actual biological father.
Give him a hug, just the simple things.
I could think of that awkward moment. I don't know. And like we said in the other episode, our parents can only do what they're taught.
Old school approach to a lot of stuff.
Old school approach, he wasn't shown that, so he may not be comfortable and know how to show that, right? Yeah. And so I can remember he would come over every now and then for like Christmas. I was walking him out. It's my biological, my dad. And I'm walking out to the car, right, and I just was laughing, right? I just was laughing at it because I'm past that point, and so I'm like, man, this is really uncomfortable.
Now you just have fun with it.
I said, all right, man, get home safe. So I gave him a hug, and he got ready to let go, and I held him, and I just laughed. I say, it's getting weird, ain't it? And he was like, I say, it's okay, man. Yeah. Like, it's okay to say I love you. I love you. Yeah. And I told him like that. He was like, I love you. And I could tell.
It was uncomfortable.
It was uncomfortable for him.
You know, when you're in this, job field that we're in, you see a lot of crazy things. Mm-hmm. So the simplest thing for us is to make sure we tell our family before we leave, I love you.
Absolutely.
Kids, wife, your mom, just let them know that you love them. Because tomorrow's not promised. You never know what you're going to get into. So you always want, to let them know your love for them.
Absolutely.
So just simple. Everybody doesn't have that luxury because they do different, jobs and stuff like that. But the simplest thing is just to be like, yo, I love you. Those are simple words that you can just say. But it's very hard for a lot of people to say, I love you. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. Just, be in that feeling.
And as far as, like we said, trying to break that cycle, right? If you grow up without a father and you have a lot of voice, and you could think of times when you may have been crying and trying to figure out why he don't want me, why he not here, why don't I have this, why don't I have that? At least I'm speaking for myself. You grow up and you have to have a little bit of resentment. And to break that cycle, you have to mature past that. You have to mature past the resentment of, like, you a grown man. Why are you holding that against your old man? Like, maybe you'll get to a point where you have a better understanding of why he is the way he is because of the way he was raised, right?
Yeah.
But the way you break that cycle is you try and be everything that you wish you had, becoming the father you needed, right? Mm-hmm. I try and be everything that my son needs, doesn't know he needs, everything that I wish I had. I try and be there for him. And I feel like if you jump into it head first, man, and you're going to make mistakes. Absolutely. You're going to be too hard on certain situations. You're going to be too soft in other situations. It's trial and error. Absolutely. But as long as they see that you're trying, as long as when you look back and your son will never question, was daddy trying? Was daddy present? Man, I think that's it, man. That's how you break it.
Yeah, I mean, once you're able to forgive and move on, you could channel that energy and putting it into what you like. Lead by example. Mm-hmm. Like, you might not be able to mend that relationship with your father or whatnot, but if your father's still around and able to see you be a parent, mm-hmm. you can parent a different way, and then that will strike conversations to, hey, why you do it this way, or you shouldn't do it that way, and then now you can have conversations on, well, this is why I do it that way. Yep. These are the reasons and why I do it. This is a different type of parenting. Nothing against how you raised me because that's how you were raised. But this is how I plan on doing it, and this is the way I want to do it. So those different things and channeling the energy and just embracing what you didn't have, but not holding on to it in a negative way, just staying positive with it and just being like, okay, I'm going to do everything, like you said, I'm going to do everything that I didn't have, and I'm going to raise my kid that way, and I'm going to see the outcome.
Absolutely.
Because all it is you just trying to instill value. You're trying to give that love and stuff like that for the next, 18-plus years, mm-hmm. and then you just see what your kids turn into. That's the rewarding, thing about parenthood. And
I mean, as a dad, as a man, raising boys, raising girls, mm-hmm. let's get into discipline. So,
that shit is different.
Man, it's different, man. Because I was
Tone
raised old
different.
School, man.
Everything's different.
Well, I was raised old school like you were as well, and it was, Mama, why? What'd I say? But why? Because I said so. Don't ask me again. Now, if you say it again, now you're being disrespectful. Now you might catch a pop, and you might catch a switch, you might catch a belt, right? Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of situations where we were kind of conditioned to not question anything.
Right.
And so one of the things me and my wife are on the same page about, and we've had conversations about this, is we don't want to raise kids that are robots and that are just programmable. We want them to be respectful. We want them to follow the rules.
Right.
But we want them to be leaders, and we want them to be critical thinkers. And what I mean by that is, if a situation comes where you're trying to tell, or somebody tells your son to do something, and I need him to question why. Give me a reason first before I just do it without thinking about it.
Yeah.
Right? And so my mom has told me on several occasions, like, man, it's crazy how you had these conversations with your kids. Like, I'll tell my daughters to do something, and they be like, well, why, Daddy? Because A, B, and C. Mm-hmm. And Daddy said this, and if this happens, then D, E, and F. Okay. But why? Okay, now I've already explained this to you. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say it again. Yeah. We about to get into the point where Daddy finna get upset.
Yeah,
right?
So you got a combination of old school upbringing with the new school parenting, and you just combine them.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Now you're gonna get some kickback from the parents and your grandparents and stuff like that on, you shouldn't raise them like that. Mm-hmm. But they got the same thing. Mm-hmm. I'm sure how they were raised, they didn't raise us exactly the same. Mm-hmm. So it's just going to be a cycle of trial and error, learning your way of parenting on top of the day and time it is with the generation and stuff like that. So you have to adjust, and you got to pivot from the different things that you're kind of going through and what your kids are going through. Because a lot of stuff is different now. Yeah. So, you have to approach it to a day-by-day basis on what comes to you.
And everything doesn't deserve a whooping. The whooping isn't the answer to everything. Yeah. And I had to find that balance too. Some things are going to be a conversation. Some things, because you didn't know what you didn't know. Right? Mm-hmm. But if we talked about this already, then you know what comes next. Right. Some things are going to be, you're going to write sentences until your hand hurts. Some things are going to be, I'm finna take everything you love away.
Man, I'm cool.
I'm finna take everything you love away.
Video games.
All of it.
Playing outside.
All of it, right? Man, and so you have to figure out, each kid is different. Some kids you just have to raise your voice a little bit, boom, they get it. Yeah. Some kids you take stuff away, they don't care. You can give them a piece of string and they're going to be in a corner like entertaining themselves. Yeah. So you have to figure out what works. But one thing that I had to learn is like you can't go hard on them all the time with the whooping. It's certain things, like if you doing something that's a danger to you and your sisters and yourself.
You want to know something crazy? I don't whoop my kids.
You don't whoop them at all?
Nope. I just explain to them, talk to them. Like you said, I might take something away. We might do timeout time, but I don't whoop them. I'd rather talk to them, articulate different things than I took that away from my upbringing. Yeah. Whoopings, I'm like, nah, I'm cool. I don't need that. But that's just me.
I respect
Everybody has a different approach.
I respect
that. I got to look. Once I get the kids that look, it's like, yo, come on. They know, like, all right, Dad not playing. Mm-hmm. So I just try to change certain things with that and just instill different discipline, ways and getting my point across.
So my daughters, it was a little pop on the hand, pop on the thigh when they were younger. When they got to a certain age, I stopped. I let mama do that because I don't want them connecting a man hitting them, with correcting them, right? And I've explained that to them. My son is half of me, okay? Take that how you want it, bro. I was bad, okay? So you could look at me, you could take stuff away from me, and I'm going to still get out here and I'm going to do what I want to do when I get off from in front of my mama, right? So I know what he got in him, and I see he gonna son, don't do that. Okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I have to do it. It's few and far between now. Yeah. But sometimes, like if you ever disrespectful, if I ever catch you in a lie, if you take something that's not yours, certain things that can translate to laws being broken when you get older. If I don't check that now,
you have to check.
Oh yeah, you gotta fade that. You gotta fade that belt, right? Yeah. But like I said, it's few and far between. But man, I know what's in him. And
sometimes you can't be mad.
It's a monster. And I'm trying to keep him. I'm trying to keep him tame, brother. So my mom did the best she could, and I apologize to her on a daily basis about the stress and the gray hairs that I gave her from me running the streets of Studewood when I was in middle school. Right. But by the grace of God, man, I'm here talking to you, right? So I just try to keep my son on a straight and narrow path, and I only use that when I have to, right? Well, that pretty much wraps it up, man. To wrap this thing up, man, being the dad that you needed, you ain't got to be perfect, but you have to be present, and you got to continue to grow and evolve as your kids grow, and just keep figuring it out, man, and it's all going to work out at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just about trial and error and, making those mistakes while parenting. It's not a big deal if you make the mistakes. It's all learning aspects, but just be present, like you said, be there, and, give love, give emotions, and
you can admit when you're wrong too. That's okay.
All the time. Yeah. I mean, you raising kids.
Absolutely.
So they might clown you, but it's not nothing you haven't grown up and been clowned before. So if you can make it a fun moment, but also a teaching moment, that's parenting right there within itself.
And you teaching your son or your daughter, like, hey, if daddy can put his hand on his chest and say, my bad, I made a mistake.
So can you.
So can you.
Absolutely.
Right? We got to lead the way, one mistake at a time.
Yeah.
And just, learn from it just like we teach them to do the same thing, man. So we appreciate y'all for tuning in for episode 3. Okay? Like we always say, man, stay in the lines, keep your head down, run your race at your pace, and we promise when you get your head up, you'll be moving on purpose.
Absolutely.